Good evening. Welcome to this candidates forum for the mayor of the city of Yonkers. This session is being offered in English with a live Spanish translation. I'd like to introduce our translator, Carlos Diaz de Leon.
Thank you, Susan. I will now proceed with the instructions in Spanish for our Spanish-speaking participants. Muy buenas tardes, bienvenidos, bienvenidas a este foro de candidatos para alcalde de la ciudad de Yonkers. Se está ofreciendo interpretación simultánea al español. Justo después de este aviso, en su barra de controles de Zoom aparecerá un icono de interpretación, parece un globo terráqueo, y ahí podrá seleccionar Spanish o español como su idioma. Ahora bien, si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, es decir, a través de una tableta o celular, presionaría primero los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Gracias, and thank you, Susan. Back to you, and you may now start interpretation.
Start. Is that good, Carlos? Great, thank you. We are pleased to be partnering tonight also with Disability Rights New York to provide both American Sign Language interpretation and live closed captioning. To see the closed captions, you can choose captions on the bottom of your screen and show captions. If you don't see that, then click the three little dots and that will get you to the captions. This evening, you will have the opportunity to listen to the candidates' views on issues of importance to the Yonkers community so that you can make an informed decision when you vote, either in early voting beginning October 28th or on Election Day, November 7th. I welcome our two candidates, Incumbent Mayor Mike Spano and Challenger Councilmember Anthony Merante. Our timekeeper is Alice McNamara, a member of the Rivertowns League and a resident of Sleepy Hollow. Our moderator is Kathy Meany, and in keeping with league policy, Ms. Meany is not a voter in Yonkers. She resides in Ossining, and she is the president of the Westchester County League, as well as second vice president and voter service chair for our state league. A word about the League of Women Voters. I'm sure you know the League is a voter service organization, and indeed we are. That's been our mission since our founding in 1920 after women got the right to vote. But we are also an advocacy group. We lobby our legislators on public policy issues, whether at the local, state, or national level. How do we arrive at our positions? By member study and consensus. Our positions represent the views of our members. So in that sense, we are political, but we are staunchly nonpartisan. That means that as a league, we never support or oppose candidates or parties. And membership in the league is open to everyone 16 years of age or older. A word about our recording policy that both the candidates have agreed to. Only the entities authorized by the league may record or live stream this forum. Only licensed media, which includes TV, radio, and newspapers, are entitled by FCC regulations to air portions of the recording. Anyone else who broadcasts or streams the recording must do so in its entirety. This is to ensure that the content of the forum will not be manipulated in any way to create false or misleading impressions of any candidate. The forum will be recorded and available for later viewing. There will be links on the Rivertowns League website and Facebook page to the location on YouTube. There is no audience participation in this webinar. The questions the candidates will be answering were all submitted by members of the Yonkers community, either when they registered for the forum or by email to the league. A committee of league members met to review the questions. Our role was to organize them according to topic and in some cases combine questions on a similar subject to include as many of the questions as possible. With that all said, I will now turn the meeting over to our moderator, Ms. Meany.
Thank you very much, Susan. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. And once again, I too welcome the candidates who are participating in tonight's forum. Now let's go over some of the ground rules. The order of opening statements has been determined before this forum and will be in alphabetical order. The order of closing statements will be in the reverse order as the opening statements. The order in which candidates will respond to further questions will be rotated by the moderator to assure fairness. Throughout the forum, no comments of a personal or abusive nature will be permitted, nor will candidates interrupt one another. The moderator has the authority to pause the proceedings to enforce the ground rules and format. Each candidate has up to 1 minute for their opening statement. Candidates will then have 1.5 minutes to answer each question. The timekeeper will indicate when 30 seconds remain in the allowed speaking time, and you'll see it on the screen. And again, when the time is up, you'll see the stop sign. Candidates may finish their sentence once started, but adhere to the stop time. Each candidate will be allowed 2 rebuttals in the course of the event. Rebuttal time will be 30 seconds, and there will be no responses to rebuttals. At the conclusion of the question period, each candidate will have up to 1 minute for their closing statement. Tonight, we have 2 candidates running for mayor of the city of Yonkers. In alphabetical order, your candidates are Anthony J. Merante and Mike Spano. So let's begin with opening statements. Our first speaker is Mr. Merante. You have 1 minute, sir.
Thank you very much, and I want to thank the league and the board and the participants for taking place and participating in this forum. I look forward to discussing the issues. My name is Anthony Merante. I am the councilman from the 6th district. I've been on the council for 6 years. I am married. I have 2 kids. I am a community leader. I'm a business owner. I'm a CPA, and again, I am also a leader of my community. I look forward to discussing the issues regarding my what I've done so far on the council in terms of helping people. My focus is people. I've been a fighter for the people, and I will continue to be a fighter. My campaign has always been about you, and all my political life, I will always be for the people of the city of Yonkers. And I look forward to serving them as their mayor come January 1, 2024. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Spano?
Let me start off by saying thank you to the league for putting together this important forum for us to have a discussion about the issues. Since I've been mayor, I've been able to really see a city that's gone through a renaissance. We are now New York State's 3rd largest city, moving from 4th place to 3rd place. We're the fastest growing big city in New York State. We have the highest graduation rate of any one of New York State's big 5 cities. We're the safest city of any one of New York State's big 5 cities, where we reformed our police department. At the same time, we were able to, reduce crime. And of course, building and housing, we've built over 12,000 units of housing. 22% of it's affordable. So we're able to make sure that there's housing for the people that we want to come here, and the people who are frankly here. Open space, 3 new parks, and of course, what we've done in terms of a cleaner environment. It's all there for us to talk about. I can't wait to talk about what we've done over the last few times I've been here in office.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spano. Now let's begin the questions for this evening. And as a reminder, you have 1.5 minutes to answer your question. So we will begin with Mr. Merante. What are the most pressing issues facing Yonkers, and what uniquely qualifies you to tackle them? And you're on mute, sir.
Thank you. Sorry about that. The issues that I think are pressing the city of Yonkers right now, number 1 is crime. I believe that we have many issues that are related to crime, and that the statistics, as shown, are not very conducive of what we really have here in the city of Yonkers. A lot of it related to the bail reform, and I think that what's happening here is that we've also lost focus on taking care of our kids in terms of giving them programs to get involved and stay away from gang violence. Other issues that I believe here in the city of Yonkers are the development. I think that the development, as pretty as it may look, has not been good for communities. The issues that I have are that people are moving out of the city. what has the development done for you? I don't see any benefit. I think that what's happening now, people that are in those developments are not seeing what they came here for, and because of crime, they are starting to leave. As far as infrastructure, that is also an increase in problem here in the city. As far as the development itself, I don't believe that the people that are coming in town, we keep hearing about all these new programs coming into town, about these new jobs. I have not seen anybody that has received any of these jobs. It's only right now, small business is what's driving this city and the rest of this country. And that is what we need to do, is focus on our small business. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Spano?
Listen, obviously quality of life and making sure that we have people who want to come to live in Yonkers, to live, work, and play, right? That's what it's really all about. And when you look at the fact that we are still New York State's fastest growing city, big city, we went from 4th largest city in New York State to the 3rd largest city in New York State. People are moving here. People want to send our children to our schools. When I got into office, there was 72% graduation rate. It's now an over 90% graduation rate, where Barack Obama himself declared it a model district. Now, yes, we have work we need to do. And there's also work we need to do in areas of crime, because if you think about it, even though statistically we're the safest city of our size, New York State, and we still are amongst one of the safest cities of our size in all of America, yeah, we are feeling the effects of bail reform. We're feeling the effects of coming out of COVID. And you saw a nationwide trend up in crime, but we are still statistically the safest, and we're going to continue to be, and we're going to continue to work hard for the taxpayers to make it all work, because at the end of the day, we want people to want to come here and to be part of what all the things that are happening. Lionsgate, Yonkers Raceway, the different studios that are coming to Yonkers, and because they see Yonkers as a place to make an investment and a place to live and work and raise their families.
Thank you. Mr. Spano, what is your position on term limits for the office of mayor?
I think it's pretty obvious. I've never been a supporter of term limits. Frankly, I don't know what it's a panacea for. But that being the case, I have, I believe that, sorry, that's my dog in the background, but I'm trying to, that being the case, I want to make sure that people have a choice. There is a term limit, right? Every 4 years, people come to the ballot box and they decide, do they want to keep me as their mayor, or do they want to choose to go a different direction? And they'll make that decision when the time comes. But as far as the current law, I supported the extension of term limits, and that's just like I said, that's the position I've always had.
Thank you. Mr. Merante?
Well, I can't believe that he would say that, because 12 years ago, when he first ran for mayor, he was a believer in term limits. But again, as far as term limits, as you know, I'm running on the Restore Term Limit line, so that when I do become mayor on January 1, I'm going to move as aggressively as possible to change term limits back to 2 4-year terms. I supported term limits way back when it came and voted in by the people of the city of Yonkers in 1994. I supported it when it was confirmed in 2001, I believe it was. And again, in 2018, I made the mistake of extending it to 3 terms, believing that would be the only one time that this would happen, jeopardizing my reputation here in the city of Yonkers. But I believe in term limits. It belongs not only here in the city of Yonkers, it belongs throughout the state and the country. It is important. It creates a situation where people are left out, where you cannot, when someone is in power for that long period of time, you cannot get the support of other people to get involved in the political sphere. It's very difficult to do. That is the key issue, one of the key issues, plus the fact that it's, you can't, it's just too much power when someone's in office too long a period of time. And that is my belief, and I will make term limits go back to 2 4-year terms when I'm elected. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Mr. Merante, how would you define affordable housing, And what percentage of new construction should developers put aside for affordable housing?
That's an excellent question, because now I'm trying, it's a moving target. The housing, the building that we have done here in the city of Yonkers has created a problem, because it has driven the rents here in the city of Yonkers through the roof. Whether you're with the average median income, whatever the number comes out to be, nobody can afford it. Again, if you put aside a building, a one-bedroom apartment can cost you $2,500. Okay, is that affordable for somebody? That's very difficult. You have to be making at least $50,000, $60,000. A lot of people here in the city of Yonkers are not making that kind of money. What's happened here is the development, all renters, okay, it's transient. Everyone comes in. If they don't like it, they move. We needed to make a mix of co-ops and condominiums. Without having that mix, there's no skin in the game. People are ready to leave at the moment that they can. And when they come here in Yonkers, sometimes they're finding out that it's not what exactly they wanted, and they're moving out. I want people to come to the city and be committed. Now, as far as the percentage, we're at 10%. I'm willing to move the pencil a little bit, as long as we still have. I believe in development. I don't want to lose development, but I want it to be where we can bring down the prices, the rent prices, because like I said, we're losing a lot of good people, and it's only because we didn't do the right formula in building the development, the buildings that we have built at this particular time. I will try to do my best to bring that average down.
Thank you. Mr. Spano?
Well, I'm glad that we're talking about this, because this is a really important subject. Yonkers has an affordable housing ordinance of 10%. Now that 10% is what will the developers put into the mix. And then, of course, we have to use the IDA, we have to use shelter rents and all the different working with not-for-profits to try and move that number up. So during my time here, even though we've authorized over 12,000 units of housing, 22% of it is affordable, 22%. Now, a recent study showed that if you look at Westchester as a whole, Yonkers is a little bit more than 20% of Westchester's population. We have over 40% of the affordable housing that's in Westchester County. We continue to do our part. Now, is it expensive? Of course it's expensive. Is it higher? It is, but it's still cheaper than anywhere else for where we live. And I really think that what we need is to continue to lobby the federal government, because they need to do more to provide us with the relief we need so that we can do even a better job. But at the end of the day, we have done some great things working with not-for-profits and working with the taxpayer, and of course, working with developers to get that number up to 22%. No other community in Westchester has built more affordable housing than the city of Yonkers.
Thank you. So, Mr. Spano, what is your opinion on residential development in Yonkers, particularly along the waterfront?
We have been able to take all of, and this is not just me, this is before me, before I was mayor, take all the old contaminated factories that used to be on the water's edge, and we were able to take that property, clean it up, revitalize it, come together, work with developers, one developer at a time, to build what we built on our water's edge. I support building housing on our water's edge, but at the same time, I want a couple of things. I want good quality affordable housing. I want good quality market rate housing. You need to have a mixture. I want to have access to the waterfront. Every single unit, every single development that we've done, we made sure that we had access to the waterfront. There's a waterfront esplanade that goes the entire length in front of every single development. We also want to make sure, because me, who was born and raised in Southwest Yonkers, I didn't have access to the waterfront. We're building a 3-acre park on the water's edge, right on the Hudson River, for our kids so that they can use it, because we had never had access to the waterfront. Open space, access, affordability, and market rate, because you want to make sure you have that mixture. That's how we can grow the economy. And I'm going to talk some more about it as we go forward.
Thank you. Mr. Merante.
Developing on the water was a good idea. However, it's not going to be effective as long as we don't clean up Getty Square and the area around it. The people that are moving in the downtown area are finding out that they are basically prisoners in their own homes because the area is still crime ridden, and there's not been enough work done to take care of the homeless and the mentally ill. Those are the other issues that have developed, and people just not comfortable being down there on the waterfront. I ask a lot of my friends, and you can ask yourself, ask your friends, how many of them are going down to the Yonkers waterfront to go out to dinner? That doesn't happen very often. It's usually Yonkers residents going down, people a little bit local, but still not crowded. And why? Because we're not taking care of the crime issue. Without taking care of the crime issue, you can build whatever you want. Eventually, it's going to fail. And what's going to end up happening is those apartment buildings are going to end up being nothing but housing for it'll end up becoming a mental health institution, because of the fact that it's not going to be rented to market rate folks anymore, and the buildings will change hands, and then it'll be deteriorated. The area needs to be cleaned up. With crime, we need to take care of our mentally ill and our homeless. Once we take care of that issue, we can take care of Getty Square and move forward and continue the development. Moving too fast without taking care of the problems at hand.
Thank you. Mr. Merante, downtown revitalization is a city priority, but many older buildings have serious issues with housing and health code violations. Does the building department have the resources it needs to address these issues? Please explain.
Well, the building department is definitely we have many issues with the building department. Whether or not they have enough resources, I can't tell it from my position here on the city council. Okay, because I don't know exactly. I know there's a lot of stuff going on. They're seeing a lot of projects going on, and I believe that there probably is enough people inside there. The problem is that we're letting too many people develop. And yes, we need to remove some of the older troubled buildings. And I do think that we do need to slowly move forward. Okay, and again, no matter what we do, we need to take care of the major issues, which is again the crime, mental health, and the homelessness down there. This way, we need to get other people involved here in the city of Yonkers. Right now, it's just a few people that are doing all the investing down there. We need new blood here in the city, and I will find out myself again. As far as the building department, if they need a couple extra people, we have given them quite a few people over the past couple of years. I don't know. Again, you can't keep throwing money after the same problem. I just need to know exactly why this has happened. I won't get those answers right now. Obviously, because I'm running for mayor. Obviously, because they don't want that information to come out. But yes, I would like to take an in-depth look at the building department to see if there is enough and get the right people in place to make sure we can continue moving forward with proper development, with new people getting involved in this development process, because it's all the same people over and over again.
Thank you. Mr. Spano.
You know, we certainly could use extra help in the building department. And with the help of actually Mr. Merante, we were able to put over 9 additional people in the building department, knowing full well that with all this new expansion, with $5 billion worth of economic development from developers who frankly wouldn't have been quit dead here a decade ago. Avalon Bay, Extel, RXR, Rose Development. These are all the deep pocket New York City developers that are in Yonkers, and they have built in our city, and they're making it go with it. And yes, the building departments had a rough time with this, with all this added development. And there's things we could do. In New York City, they have what they call self-certification. You hire your own engineer, and they will certify, rather than have the building department have to go through all that effort. That's what New York City has. But you know what? Yonkers can't have it because of New York State law. So we want to be able to change that, to give us a little more flexibility so that we can actually go with the flow here. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of economic development activity. We want to make sure it's responsible, and we want to make sure it's done right. And when you do that, it slows it down. So we have a lot of work to do with really, frankly, not enough people, but we're getting there.
Thank you. Mr. Spano, a master plan was submitted to the planning department in 2006 to improve Ashburton Avenue. Nothing was done, and traffic congestion is as bad, if not worse, than it was nearly 20 years ago. What has become of the master plan, and would you consider reactivating it, and why or why not?
Well, Ashburn Avenue, don't forget, we put $16 million into the expansion and redesigning of Ashburn Avenue early on in this administration, actually, again, with the help of the councilman. And so was it a complete tear down, which is what many people wanted? Well, no. And frankly, we couldn't afford that kind of a tear down. We were talking tens of millions of dollars, what you would need to do to widen that street. And in areas where it's old Yonkers, where you would have torn down much of the old part of the city, which I'm not sure that's certain that's something that we all wanted, but we were able to take using federal money, state money, and city money. We put over $16 million towards redesigning and widening the road just as much as we could so that you have access to the waterfront. It is not perfect, definitely better than it was. We've also improved Yonkers Avenue by eliminating the traffic that you would have on one side or the other during the heavy hours in both the rush hours, both the morning and the afternoon. So we've made some significant changes to make it better. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of cars, and that's what you have in an urban center. But we continue to fight that every day.
Thank you. Mr. Merante?
Well, I'm all for fixing up Ashburton Avenue, but again, it goes back to the same old problem: is you can do whatever you want in terms of development. If you don't fix the underlying problems down there, which again, crime because of bail reform, crime because we're not taking care of homeless, crime because we're not taking care of the mentally ill. These issues will prevent others from getting involved. And yes, the master plan needs to be revisited, because I don't even know what the master plan is going. We're building buildings that are tremendous. Look at the zoning board here. They're building buildings 32 stories high, have no right being built where they're attempting to build and get variances. The zoning board has lost its direction in terms of what they're here for. We cannot. We need to make sure that the planning department is doing everything that they can to do what's right for the city. Again, the development is beautiful. It's great. It's fluffy. It sounds fantastic. But at the end of the day, you're right. We need to take a look at the master plan. I'm all for it. Again, the Ashburton is just one corridor. The whole downtown area needs to be redone all across the city. We have to take care of these issues immediately. Otherwise, again, without taking care of the underlying problems, you're not going to go anywhere. It's only going to lead to some building something and eventually turning it over to somebody else because they can't maintain it, because resident people will not move into that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Merante, much of Yonkers is vulnerable to flooding on both the east side and the west side. What is the city currently doing to mitigate flooding, and what more can be done in the future?
Well, yeah, that is definitely a new topic. Every time it rains, a little flash flooding, and the next thing you know, we're underwater. I have been a big proponent, and I've even proposed it to the administration. What I think we need to do as an initial start is we need to allocate some funds to take a look at all of our sewers and our storm drains to see how many of them are broken, how many of them are clogged, because this just, and again, and how much of it is due to the fact that we have all this development. I believe some of it, I don't want to say all of it. I'm not engineer that I'm qualified to say that it's because of the overdevelopment. I do believe it's overdevelopment, but we need to take a look at the infrastructure. It is a major issue here. Other local communities are getting money from the state to take a look at it. We need to get our share of infrastructure money that never came from Washington. I keep asking that question. Where's our infrastructure money? We need to fix that issue. I think is it 100% fixable? I don't know if that's the case, but you know something? It's not fair, because you know why? It doesn't matter until it happens to you. And I have a lot of constituents that have flooding problems, and I would love to start by, again, scanning all of our sewers and storm drain systems to see if it's clogging and or broken pipes that are the start. You got to start somewhere.
Thank you. Mr. Spano.
So we should never forget that Yonkers, the city of Yonkers, is built on 2 mountain ranges. So, it's seven hills and 7 valleys and 7 rivers and 7 lakes. I mean, it's a recipe for disaster in the new world of global warming. When we had Hurricane Ida, was 3 inches of rain in a matter of a short few hours. There is no system you could build today that could handle that amount of water poured on top of a city that's built on 2 mountain ranges. But that being said, we continue to fight with the federal government to ask them for additional funds so we can repair our infrastructure as much as we can. Now, what we do is we want them to give us money so that we can expand and improve. But we also have to do the things that we need to do locally. We continue to do that, where we have improved the 3 major spots that tend to flood all the time. Kimball Avenue, we've done some pretty extensive improvements there. We've also done some in the Bronxville section and some over next to the Sawmill. And so we have made some improvements. But again, when you get these huge 500-year storms that happen every few months, it's pretty tough on a city like ours. We're going to need deep pockets like New York State and the federal government to give us some additional infrastructure aid. And that's what we're fighting for all the time.
Thank you. Mr. Spano, the disability community is said to be the largest minority community in the world. What would you do as mayor to advocate making municipal services, workplaces, and businesses more accessible for people with disabilities, including those who are deaf, hard of hearing, or visually impaired?
Well, one of the things that we did too, so you know, when we were doing our 10% affordable housing ordinance, one of the things we fought for was to make sure that we put into policy that a portion of that housing that's being built is provided and made available to people with disabilities. I also have a disability advisory board where they work with us on different areas in the government that we can make changes. You know what? If you look at municipal buildings, while they're old, they are handicapped accessible, and where they're not, we have made them so. And so, could we do better? Yeah, of course. We're always trying to improve our efforts and to do more. But at the end of the day, we have put a tremendous amount of resources and money into our infrastructure, whether it be our schools, over $300 million in the past 10 years in infrastructure improvements to our schools, that includes making them, better and more accessible. And that's something that we'll continue to do, because that's important and that's what we should do. And that's what it's all about, making sure that we take care of everyone, including those who have special needs, to make sure that they can live equally and equitably with us.
Thank you. Mr. Merante?
Well, there's a lot more that we can do. There's always a lot more that we can do. As far as specifics, I'm not an expert in the field. However, what I am good at is finding out from the community and from the advisory boards, what exactly do they need? Because I'm a listener. I'm a listener, and I act. That's how I work. I will never tell you that I have all the answers, but as far as whatever is needed in the disability community, you have my ear, and I will do everything in my ability as the mayor of the city of Yonkers to open the doors to every opportunity in every store, every bus, every building that we have, so that the handicapped and the disabled can access these facilities. Anything else would again, I couldn't say anything else without having the input from the experts that tell us what we're doing wrong. But I think that's one area that the city of Yonkers has moved in the right direction. Whatever else we need to do, I'm all for moving forward to help others as needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Merante, asylum seekers have been sheltered in a hotel in Yonkers this year. What services have been provided to them, and how would you propose to deal with asylum seekers in the future?
Well, as far as, yes, that hotel happens to be in my community. First thing I would do as mayor is I would sue Eric Adams and Kathy Hochul from preventing any others from coming into this city. I'm not against them. I'm against anything that has nothing to do with a plan. These folks were brought to us. They're staying in a hotel that they're currently now violating. That's only a 30-day stay hotel. So they've come here. We have no idea. As again, I have not been brought aware of any particular other service. I'm sure that they do take up some medical services at this particular point in time. Again, I'm being kept in the dark on certain issues because of the fact that I am running for mayor. What I would do though is I would absolutely put a halt to anything that's going on to bring any other folks into the city. It's not fair to the people that are here. We need to know who is in our city. We need to know a plan. We need to know what is the end game. Nobody goes into any process without having a complete plan. And that is what the problem of this whole system has been. Where are these folks going to end up? How are they going to get there? How are they going to pay for it? We have nothing to stand on this particular point in time. I'm looking forward to making sure that anybody that we help, I like helping people. However, I'm not doing it without a plan, without the funding, because we in the city of Yonkers can't afford it. We have a pending budget problem coming up in a couple of years, and we can't afford $1 for somebody. If we have the money, I'm ready to take care of people after we take care of our homeless and our mentally ill. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Spano.
You know, when we found out that New York City was going to send 50 to 100 families to Yonkers, to the Ramada Inn, we made it very, very clear to both the mayor of New York City and to the governor, frankly, of the state that this was unacceptable to send us these individuals without a plan and without dollars attached to it. And so, you know, so what did they do? They came, they set up. What did we do? Well, we worked in concert with Westchester County like we should have done. We worked with West Tab like we should have done. And we treated the immigrants with dignity and respect, because that's what we should have done. And that's what we continue to do. At the same time, I'm going to continue to push to hold those responsible for sending them here without a plan to give us the additional resources that we should have, because that's what we're not getting. We're not getting the resources. As a matter of fact, New York City's even using a tax loophole not to pay us any additional revenues, whether it be the hotel tax or the sales tax that they ought to be paying us. And so we're getting hurt there. There are so far there's been no criminal activity or anything like that happening over at the site, and we continue to work constructively with the residents. Again, they're not the people that we have a beef with. We have a beef with those who brought them here without a plan.
Thank you very much. Mr. Spano, gun violence impacts all residents in this city. What plan do you have for reducing gun violence?
It's amazing. The gun violence this year, even as opposed to last year, we're still down than where we were last year. But one bit of, one shooting is obviously more than anyone should have to take. And statistically, yeah, when you talk about Yonkers, Yonkers had last year, I think 23 shootings, and it's our sister city, Rochester, had over, I think, 300. It shows you the dichotomy, but again, it's still one is one too many, and that's what we're always fighting against. And so, a lot of what we're dealing with, like I said, came about as a result of the change in laws. It came about, all this happened at the same time. So we're coming out of COVID, which there was no crime happening at all because everyone, frankly, was home. And then we had a couple of major changes in state law at state capitol, whether it be bail reform or raise the age, which have had a significant impact on the amount of work that our police officers have to do to keep our community safe. And my hope is that we'll be able to get Albany to make some adjustments to that law. I'm not saying get rid of it, to make some adjustments, because I don't think you want to throw the baby out the bathwater, but make some adjustments so that we are able to do what we need to do here, which is to keep our community safe.
Thank you. Mr. Merante.
Excellent question. The problem here is that there's most of those shootings are gang related. Thank goodness they're not random shootings coming at somebody in your local neighborhood. So what do we need to do? I've already proposed and put on the table that I put foot patrols back into place. Without putting foot patrols, and that's what I'm learning from officers that have been in this situation, without them getting in there, getting the intelligence and knowing the information that we need to know in order to infiltrate the gangs and and try to rid ourselves of the gangs. In also doing that, we need to stop the gangs from growing. And that means our kids. We failed our kids. We're not giving the kids the programs that they need after school to get involved. And again, I'll take it down to the education system over here. The mayor can tout his graduation rate, but I think a lot of these kids are graduating, and a lot of them are illiterate. You lowered the bar. They lowered the bar on the graduation. So these kids have nothing to do, but they're out there and can fail. And if we don't get them off the streets by putting programs in, we have 211,000 people and 27,000 kids in school, and we only have 2 football teams. That just eats me alive to think that we can't get 4 football teams together, get at least another 50 or 100 kids off the street so that they have a direction and a way to go to make these kids succeed. We are failing our children, thus leading to crime and gun violence. It is a step-by-step process. We need to take it at its roots.
Thank you. Mr. Merante, Yonkers has a large minority population. Do you think it's important that appointed commissioners reflect the diversity of the city? Please explain.
Well, again, there should absolutely be more of, I mean, from what I understand in terms of statistics, as we like to play with statistics here, the fact is there's about 45% Hispanic community, and we have 15% of Hispanics working within the city of Yonkers. Do they deserve a fair share? Absolutely. They're not getting a shot. That's because of the fact that you have the administration has a certain amount of people that they're working with at this particular point in time. I would be making sure that they do have a growth factor here in the economics and the workforce of the city of Yonkers. They work hard. They're very hardworking people in the minority community, and I want to make sure that they have every opportunity. To me, I don't need DEI. I just need to know someone wants to work. Come on out. We're going to take care of you. When I'm mayor of the city of Yonkers, if you come out here, we're going to help you get the jobs. We're going to make you get qualified. We're going to teach you well, and we're going to make sure that you're ready to come out there and take over. And I will make sure that I'm not going to be held back by ethnicity. I'm going to take sure that if you belong up there, you're getting hired.
Thank you. Mr. Spano.
Listen, I totally agree with with my opponent when he says that you want to make sure, right, that you have the best and the brightest in your cabinet. That being said, I think it's also fair to say you can have the best and the brightest and also have the diversity that goes with your community. And that's one of the reasons why I have probably one of the most diverse administrations that Yonkers is. I probably have the most diverse administration that any mayor has ever had in our city's history. And I continue to strive for that. I continue to look to see how I can make the city and our workforce, really be more representative of this beautiful mosaic that we have. Yonkers is one of the most diverse cities of its size in all of America, and we're able to make it work. And so, yes, when I look for people who I want to put in positions, I look for the keen eye, obviously, not just for qualifications, but for diversity as well, because the two can work very easily together. And I've done the same thing with the workforce, the police department, the fire department, the public department of public works. All are more diverse today than they were the day I took office.
Thank you. Mr. Spano, Yonkers public school students have scored below the statewide public school average in recent testing in math and reading. What can be done to improve performance and raise confidence in the Yonkers school system?
Yonkers, like I said, it's been a school district that has been chronically underfunded by New York State for a long time, and we actually get less funding than the other three big cities combined. Imagine that we get so little funding, but yet we're able to do what we need to do to get our children the resources they need. Now, urban settings, our kids have 75% of our kids live at or below the rate of poverty. We have been incrementally getting that and increasing that and making it better every single year. That's why we were able to take our graduation rate from 72% to 90%. But at the end of the day, we do also know that we do have other areas that need to be addressed, the areas of reading and math and making sure that we can do even better there. But we can't do it if we're not getting adequate funding. And that's part of what we're fighting for every day. Barack Obama says we're a model district. And I say thank you for that, but that doesn't mean a thing if we can't make sure that all our kids have an opportunity to be able to achieve their goals in life, and that make sure that they're reading at levels that they ought to be reading at.
Thank you. Mr. Merante.
Root causes, that's what we're going down to again. Okay, again, the graduation rate again is a nice puffy number, but as I said, we lowered the bar and we're pushing kids out that are not prepared for the world. What do we need to do? We need to get to these children at the young age. Again, I'll keep pushing on crime and police. I'd love to get the DARE programs back into the school, so that's one level of letting the kids know that the police are your friends. That's one aspect of it. Family, we need to put money into programs young, into the youth before as they grow older again, pre-K. We need to get to these children at the early ages. Now, is that a fun? That's my choir that I preach to all the time. Also, we send $500 million up to Albany every year. We only get $400 million back, and that doesn't even include the lottery money. So yes, funding is an issue, but sometimes throwing money is not the problem. It's early intervention, getting these kids at the beginning of their educational careers and setting them on the correct course. Is it mean money? Possibly a little bit more. I'm not definitely convinced at this particular point in time. I think we have great teachers here in the city of Yonkers, just like we have great police, fire, and DPW people. But again, we need to do something to get even faith-based organizations. We need to get people back into church. It's all about the family. With these one-parent families, it's a tough thing for these children. So we need to put some work into families and the groups, and organizations to give kids a good organization, a good base to start.
Thank you. We've come to our final question for this evening. Mr. Merante, we'll start with you. What efforts have been made or can be made to bring businesses and job opportunities to the city of Yonkers?
Well, again, it's a very tough formula because of the fact that what's happening right now is a lot of things with all the sales of business in the real estate has driven rents through the roof. Very big factor trying to keep businesses here in the city of Yonkers. What we need to do is bring in businesses that will, lift communities. Okay, I came here 6 years ago, and I live up by Central Avenue over there. And I don't know how the city could have allowed Romantic Depot to end up on Central Avenue. That's not going to lift the community at all. It belongs in an industrial area, if not at all, any place here in the city. Okay, we don't have we're losing restaurants left and right. We need to bring people. We have to give people incentives to get out into the public and come out and spend some money and make it a social event again. Where it's going to come back down again and again. Crime is the underlying factor. If we don't take care of the crime situation, people are not coming out. The statistics on crime are totally undervalued because of the fact that a lot of crimes are not being recorded. If they're not being recorded and the rest are not being made, the statistics are flawed. But people know what's going on with the smash and grab. If we don't control that aspect of it, we're not going to have any business. We need to bring some business in here that will generate. And again, do I have all the answers? I will bring in some people in the planning department that will knock the socks off of any community and start the ball rolling to move the city forward with new economic small businesses that will take us forward to the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Spano.
So how do we get businesses to want to come to Yonkers, right? And I think it's really simple. We continue what we have been doing. We right now have an unemployment rate that's 3.1%. That is the lowest of any big city in New York State, 3.1%. As a result of the housing policies we have in place, we have Lionscape. We have the 22 studios in total will be built in Yonkers. That's an entire new industry, providing thousands of jobs, additional revenues. And where are they coming? They come to Southwest Yonkers. Why are they going to Southwest Yonkers? Well, that's because it's where we built all the housing, all the mixed housing. Why are they going there? Why? Because they see it as a clean, I disagree with my opponent. They see it as a clean place. They see it as a diverse place. They see it as a place where there's opportunity and where, they'll be able to do that. We have MGM coming to Yonkers, and they're going to have a full gaming facility in Yonkers. These two facilities are going to provide thousands of jobs for children in our schools, Black and brown children who will have access to these jobs that are a direct line to the middle class. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And that's what we're striving towards. I try never to beat up the city. I really do. And I know you have to be realistic when the issues are there, but you cannot escape the success that this city has had. And we should never forget that, because we should never let people dismiss Yonkers.
Thank you.
Is there a moment for a rebuttal on that?
Yes, you may, Mr. Merante. Go right ahead. You have 30 seconds.
I could rebuttal it a few times. Rebuttal. I know he told me that.
They told you have to. So with regards to Lionsgate, yes, it's nice and flashy. Okay, we talked about them bringing in 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 jobs. Where are those jobs? Again, I have not heard one person come up to me and say to me that they got at Lionsgate. Those are hard union jobs to get. The people that are coming there are people from out of state. I have not heard one person that told me, hey, Councilman, I got a job at Lionsgate. Oh, maybe they got a job as a security guard. Maybe they got, again, because at this point, I do not see the jobs. I'd like the mayor to explain to the people where those jobs are.
Well,
Thank you.
I think it's
All right,
pretty
Mr.
clear.
Spano, you don't have the opportunity for rebuttal to a rebuttal.
Okay.
I'm
All right. Well,
sorry.
I'd like to get my 2 rebuttals that you didn't tell me I had. Can I
All
get those?
right, well, let me, Mr. Merante, would it be okay with you for one rebuttal from Mr. Spano?
I would like to hear his explanation on where the jobs are.
Well, I think he knows that there was a strike, right, which is now coming to an end. So these 3 studios that were kind of dormant for the last couple of months, going fully online. Another 3 studios that have already been built. Another 3 studios that are being built. And of course, Leek and Watts and the studios that we built there, along with a new high school. A magnet school that our kids are going to have access to, where they're going to be able to learn about this industry. And when they graduate every single year, they'll be given the opportunity to either go directly into the film industry or go to Syracuse University into Newhouse. And that is real opportunity for our children.
And when?
Thank you very much.
When?
All
Question is
right,
when,
now,
not now.
Mr. Merante, we are now finished. All right, no more rebuttals on rebuttals. All right, but it is now time, gentlemen, for closing statements. As I said earlier, closing statements will be given in the reverse order as the opening statements. So candidates, you have 1 minute for your closing statement. So we'll begin with Mr. Spano.
I for my whole life, I've heard people come to Yonkers and dismiss our city and say we weren't good enough, say that our kids weren't good enough, saying that our streets are crime ridden, speaking about all different types of things. But at the end of the day, you know what? We've made so many strides. Our city's safer than it's ever been before. Our kids are graduating at a rate that is a marvel to the other big 5 cities in New York State, despite the underfunding and that we get. Our kids, our communities and are thriving. And you know what? Our city is booming and we're doing the things that we ought to do. And we are proud to say we're from Yonkers. My opponent, you know what? He wants to talk about the negative things. That's fine. He wants to talk about term limits. I know he voted against term. I guess he voted against term limits before he decided he was for term limits. But I guess that's because he's running for mayor now. Let's be real. Let's move Yonkers forward and let's be positive about the place that we live and call home. Because you know what? It's a great place to live, work, and raise a family. I love being here. 6 generations of my family call Yonkers home. And I hope it will continue for as long as possible.
Thank you. Mr. Merante.
I love my opponent. He's a great guy. I consider him a friend. However, he's lost focus. He's a good guy. I'm here to take care of the people. When it came to that vote for term limits in 2018, I was totally against it until the very end, knowing that this was going to be the only time I was going to do that. I made a mistake, and I hope the people forgive me for that. Okay, because I didn't think we were going to try and do this again and politicize the city council where you get 4 votes and a mayor that votes. This mayor, Merante, on January 1, will reverse everything back to 2 4-year terms. That is my promise to the people of the city of Yonkers, because I'm focused on the people of the city of Yonkers. Anything that they need, that is my priority. Just doing what was done and changing term limits shows where the focus is. It's not on the people, it's on oneself. And I think that was a wrong thing to do, especially a second time, politicizing the city council. But if these 211,000, the bragging rights of the 3rd largest city of the state of New York, why didn't you give them the opportunity to vote it? I will do that, and I will prove to you that they are very upset with this term limit, and I'm going to be the term limit guy this year, and I will change the roles back again in 2024. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank both candidates and the audience. I remind you that this forum was video recorded, and it will be available on the League of Women Voters Rivertowns website shortly on their YouTube channel, hopefully within 24 hours, and it will be available through Election Day. I remind everyone that early voting for this election starts on October 28th and ends on November 5th. Election Day is November 7th. And finally, please remember, democracy is not a spectator sport, and I encourage everyone to get out and vote. Thank you again. Have a wonderful evening. The forum has now ended. Thank you.